Reigning F1 world champion Max Verstappen says Red Bull likely won't win in Australia, although he expects his RB21 to suit Melbourne's track more than pre-season testing host Bahrain. Verstappen closed out pre-season testing with the 5th fastest time, but his Red Bull team did the least mileage. The Dutchman, though, says the team has some way to go to be competitive. If you look at the lap times, then I think McLaren is the favorite. On our side, not everything went completely smoothly, but on the other hand, we have some ideas on how to improve, Verstappen said. American roadmark Cadillac has finally been given the green light from both the FIA and Formula One to enter the pinnacle of motorsport from 2026, following a joint statement last week. The American brand was given the initial okay for a 2026 debut following last year's Las Vegas Grand Prix, with F1 keen on bringing in a huge US manufacturer like General Motors. Cadillac is already operating from its Silverstone Park UK base, with the American operation set to run Ferrari power units before building its own from 2030. Aston Martin will now have to wait until July 18 for its new Chief Technical Officer Enrico Cardile, following news of a court case that Ferrari has won in Italy that forces him to cease early work with the team. Aston Martin announced Cardile as its new CTO in July last year, stating that he would join in 2025. But Ferrari has revealed he was collaborating with F1's Green Team during his gardening leave period, in which he was allegedly violating the non-compete commitment with Ferrari, a claim that the Court of Modena upheld following a request. This is a matter between Enrico and Ferrari and their legal representatives in Italy, and the parties continue to be engaged in the process, said a statement from Aston Martin. Red Bull Motorsport consultant Dr. Helmut Marko says that 2025 is a make-or-break season for Racing Bull's pilot Yuki Tsunoda, with the young gun needing to beat rookie teammate Isaac Hadjar. Tsunoda was snubbed for Red Bull's top seat, with Marko stating that Liam Lawson was chosen on mental strength, but the Austrian now says the Japanese driver has to beat Hadjar this year or he's out. If he is doing well, then there is a future, Marko said. If not, then maybe there's no more chance in F1 for him. Alpine executive advisor Flavio Briatore has revealed that he calls the shots at the French squad, with total control part of his deal with Renault CEO Luca De Meo. Briatore returned to Ecclestone in June 2024 and was brought in to recruit the right F1 people, including drivers, to turn around its fortunes, despite the fact he was dismissed in 2009 due to his involvement in the infamous Singapore Crashgate saga. But while a new team principal was also later installed in High-Tech's Oliver Oakes, Briatore says his early talks with De Meo determined his position. I just told Luca, let me see if it's possible, if I still have the same book I had before to put together this team. And we started talking, but there was one condition: I wanted to be in charge completely, Briatore said. Honda says it's not ruling out supplying another team with power units, in addition to its future works project at Aston Martin. Honda originally announced it would exit from F1 at the end of 2021, with its target to have 2/3 of its sales electrified by 2030, en route to being carbon neutral by 2050. But the Japanese manufacturer soon took a swift U-turn, following its Red Bull success, with an Aston Martin deal from 2026. We are a racing company, said Koji Watanabe, president of Honda Racing. If the opportunity arises to supply powertrains to multiple teams, we would like to pursue it. Mercedes pilot George Russell has called on the FIA to let the drivers be as authentic as possible, following the governing body's recent swearing ban with its sanctions starting at €40,000 for a first offence. Russell says things have gotten a little bit out of hand recently with the FIA's developments, and that while situational awareness is important, stopping a driver from being themselves impacts their brand. There's a time and a place, Russell said. You have to ensure that our emotions stay real and true, especially when it comes to the radio and potentially an interview straight after the race. That's what's so pure about it. Haas is confident that it will be ready for Melbourne, with fixes needed for the car after its shakedown and testing, where bodywork parts detached as a result of a too aggressive design. Esteban Ocon lost the side pod cover of his VF25 during the Silverstone shakedown, while Oliver Behrman's engine cover lifted during testing in Bahrain, forcing both back to the pits. Team boss Ayo Komatsu says that the modification made to the car for the 2025 season was just too aggressive, and that a fix will be in place for the opening round in Melbourne. Despite the issue, Haas recorded the second highest mileage at testing, just one lap fewer than top squad Mercedes.
One thing we set out to do was just do as much mileage as possible, as was reasonable, and I think we achieved that. We spent not much time in the garage, which is good. So when you're on track, you're always learning. Obviously, a few hiccups along the way, but I think all teams do, and that's part of testing. And there are things that we can fix very easily.
Double world champion Mika Häkkinen says Mick Schumacher still has a chance to return to F1, with the Finn stating that the door is still open for the 25-year-old and that he just has to talk to the right people. Schumacher spent 2 years racing in F1 with backmarker Haas in 2021 and 2022, before moving onto the sidelines as Mercedes reserve in 2023. He's since cut ties with the Silver Arrows to focus on racing with Alpine in the World Endurance Championship, with 2025 his second season with the French marque. But Häkkinen says Schumi could still return to F1 in the future. He has experience in Formula One, and he has experience from various racing classes, and he is young. These are all good things, these are all positive factors, the Finn said. Former Supremo Bernie Ecclestone's extensive Grand Prix car collection has been sold to Mark Mateschitz, son of the late great Red Bull founder Dietrich, for almost $645 million, with the glittering examples to be put on display in the near future. Arguably the finest collection of all time, Ecclestone's 69 cars feature all his Brabhams, 17 Ferraris, including Michael Schumacher's F2002, and the 1958 Van Wall that lifted the inaugural Constructors' title. Mateschitz says the collection will be carefully preserved, expanded over the years, and then put on display for the public to enjoy. Ecclestone, 94, wanted to move them onto a new owner, given his advancing years.
Probably because now I'm, maybe in a few years I will be 90-odd years old. And got to start thinking, I don't want to leave people lots of problems.
Four-time world champion Alain Prost says he's considering deleting his Instagram account due to constant messages from F1 fans regarding his rivalry with the late great Ayrton Senna. The pair were teammates in 1988 and 1989 at McLaren, where they fell out in dramatic style. But the controversies continued through into 1990 and beyond, as Prost raced for other teams, including Ferrari. Senna, racing for Williams, tragically died at the 1994 San Marino Grand Prix, but his passionate fans still send direct messages to Prost, including, he says, a hateful one from time to time. My biggest fan base on social media is from Brazil, of all places, so I'm forced to think of him, Prost said. Indirectly, I've been living around this story for 30 years, and it will probably stay that way for the rest of my life. Thanks for watching. To stay up to speed on all things Formula One, make sure you hit the subscribe button.